Alhamdulillah wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. What's a Salafi? What's the difference between a Salafi and a Sunni? What's the difference between all of those and Athari? And these are certain names that come about, like you have these different titles. Someone will say, I'm a Salafi, or I'm a Athari, or I'm a Sunni, or some of these other names that come about, or some of the names that are thrown at people. And so what is the difference between these? Ultimately, if we look at I'll go with the Sunni because this is the biggest name. The Sunni, there's two meanings to a Sunni. One is this is a nisbah, and we would say like in Arabic, this is a nisbah to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So when we say Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then we say that this person that goes to Ahl Sunnah. So this Sunnah here, this is where the nisbah goes to. It goes to Sunni. And so we'd say this person is from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, so we say he's Sunni. And in general, there's a divide in the Muslim, like the Muslim Ummah in general. We'd say Ahlul Qibla, which is a big word that encompasses everybody who points themselves to the Qibla when they pray and make salah. And this includes like the Shia and whatnot. Anyone who claims to be from Islam in a vague sense, like we'd say that they're Ahlul Qibla, and that like that they're from that, even if they're from like the Shia or like these major sects that are very misguided, such as if there was like someone who was Mu'tazili or Jahmi or like some of these different things, we'd say they're Ahlul Qibla. But then you have like the big divide that's like the modern day divide is you would say people are either one Sunni or they're Shia, and so or we'd also say Rawafida or like Rafidi. And so, which means Rafidi means like that they refused. Like, of course, this is like that they're refusing the Khilafah of Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhuma. And also, like, so they have this refusal of them or like affirming them in their status. And so this is where the term Rafidi would come. And this term Rafidi is what the Sunnah, or like Ahl Sunnah, what they use a lot of times for the Shia, because of course Shia means like someone who helps, or someone who is the people that help someone else, or like these close, like it's kind of like close helpers or providers, or someone who's on their side. And so the Shia, they called themselves Shia because they claim to be the helpers of like Ahlul Bayt. And of course, this is a whole other discussion to go into that. That's another discussion. But basically, we have Sunni, and this is the counterpart to Shia. And then there's also, so this is a very big group. So anyone who's not Shia, he's Sunni. That's like the basics of how it is in like the modern day age, since there's no other major groups for the most part that are like in Islam. And so if someone is Sunni, then in this case, he's claiming to be from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Now there's different groups inside of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and these groups are pointing themselves to some of these things. So inside of like, if we're going to look about, like if we're talking about Aqidah, then we're going to talk about the people who point their Aqidah to be the Aqidah of the Salaf. Then they would say Salafi, because they're saying, I am ascribing my way or my manhaj to the Salaf. And of course, this is the greatest of generations. Of course, from the hadith, خير قرني قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم. So we have like this Salaf, which are these three generations here. We have these are the best generations. So of course, if someone wants to ascribe and the point that my aqidah and my manhaj, the way that I go about my belief, is based on what they were upon, then they would say, ascribing themselves to the Salaf, they would say Salafi. And so, of course, this name has been a hot topic and a hot name that has gained a lot of traction and also gotten a lot of flack from people. And then there's so this is one group, which you have like the Salafi, and then you also have the Athari, and this is the other name that I mentioned. And the Athari name, in essence, it's going to Ahlul Athar and Ahlul Hadith. So these Ahlul Athar and Ahlul Hadith. These are two names which are groups of the people that have the Salafi Aqidah, because the people of Athar, which is the same as Hadith, a lot of times these two names can be interchangeable. And of course, like Athar in like a technical sense sometimes refers to something more general than Hadith. such as like this is like the sayings not just of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but also the sayings of the Salaf. Like sayings of Abu Bakr, sayings of Omar, sayings of like the rest of the Salaf or the Tabi'in and whatnot. This would all be considered athar, as opposed to hadith, something that's specific for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the thing that it defines Ahlul Athar wal Hadith is that they are like, we take the hadith as a defining evidence that's a qat'i evidence, that it is absolute evidence in Aqidah. We take this in Aqidah in a definite form, in an actual form. And then we also have the other groups that are in the big fold of Ahl Sunnah. I say big fold of Ahl Sunnah being very loose. And that it's anyone that's other than the Shia. That's what I mean by Sunni. And so anyone other than the Shia, they would, like, that is in this like big Sunni thing. Then we have the other groups of like the Asharis and the Maturidis. And so the Asharis, that's a nisbah, and it's a ascribing to Imam Abi Hassan al-Ashari. And so this, and of course he comes from the Kulabi, like he was originally Mu'tazili. And so, and he studied under like the big head of the Mu'tazili, like that whole belief in that whole madhab and whatnot. And he took from him until he went against him. After he saw a bunch of the serious mistakes of the Mu'tazili madhab, then he went against them and started arguing against them, and also arguing against some of the other people that were going against Islam, some of the enemies of Islam. And so he had a strong root in this philosophy that permeated Islam after the works of like Greek philosophy got translated into Arabic, and then that kind of Greek philosophical mindset and whatnot permeated a lot of the thoughts of the Muslim world. And so he had a lot of this when he would debate the Mu'tazilis, and this is a great work that he did of debating them. But sometimes he would debate them and he would fall into some problematic statements that he would have. And he would say something that's problematic, not necessarily here. It goes against the Salaf here in a minor way. But if you take this to its logical conclusion, it goes very, very far away from the truth. And he didn't take it to the logical conclusion, but he left it here. And he said something that was problematic here and there and here and there. And then later at the end of his life, of course, he has the book Al-Ibana that he wrote towards the end of his life, where he returns back and he says, I'm like, my madhab is the madhab of Imam Ahmad. And he talks and affirms the basic tenets of the Salaf, the Aqidah to Salaf in this. And so he has this, he goes back. But his students afterwards, they took it to the next logical conclusion, and then their students took it to the next logical conclusions, and their students took it to the next logical conclusions, until it became very, very, very close to the Mu'tazili madhab. And there's a lot of, and since they were going against them, like ultimately the point of it was to go against them and reply with the same type of kalami or like mantiki philosophical approach that they had, like basing the arguments on philosophy by itself without going to other texts, and then proving it from philosophy and then building it from there to going to another place. And so the people that came later, they took it to a place that he didn't take it. But of course, they're still ascribing to the madhab of Ashari. And so the later comers, they went very, very far. Now, Imam Abu Hassan al-Ashari, rahimahullah, he is from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, even though he has some mistakes here and there. And at the end, of course, he went back from most of like the majority of like the major mistakes. He went back to that and came back to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And the early people from like the Asharis, they could be considered loosely from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Like from like you would say that this person is Sunni and that they're like upon the Aqidah to Salaf in most things, and if they go against Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in some areas. But then the later comers, they went very, very far, and they actually went against this in major ways, and such as when they look at like the actual like hadith is not a evidence. If the Prophet ﷺ said something in a mutawatir hadith, they're not going to take it at its meaning, because they have some type of kalami construct that they built from over time, and then they're going to reject the hadith. And so of course this is not the way of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Ahl Sunnah, a Sunnah here is hadith. So like Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, if they don't take the hadith in their like Aqidah. So this is very far, and it removes them in a major way from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at. But in what they agree with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at, they're with us. What they go against it, they're against us. And so this is important that people deal with respect when it comes to like the Asharis and also with the Maturidis, that they don't say they're not in any way, shape, or form from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at. And a lot of people think it's an all or nothing. It's an all or nothing area, and this is not like there's many scholars that actually will say that what they agree with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at, they're with us, and what they disagree with, we're free from that. But this is not something that is an all or nothing type of thing. And this kind of all or nothing, black and white looking at people and calling them mubtada and whatnot. This is a very serious crime against the work that these people contributed to Islam and what they have done in putting all this work in null and void because of this. And I've talked about this before. And so this is the name Ashari is a nisbah to Imam al-Ashari. And also Maturidi is also another branch that's pointing to another branch. It was very close to the Ashari Aqidah. They have some differences here and there, but for the most part they get along. They run together. And these two, they claim to be Sunni. So a lot of times you'll see someone, they say, I used to be Wahhabi and now I'm Sunni. And so, and they'll say I'm Sunni, and what they mean is Ashari or Maturidi. And the Asharis and the Maturidis, they have this way of, they want to claim the word Sunnah and then leave the Salafis away from it, as if the Salafis aren't Sunnis. And this is something. And of course, like the people that use the word Athari, it's the same as Salaf. Like in essence, the Aqidah is the same, but I think that probably the reason people use the word Athari is to get away from that term Salafi, just because of the amount of flack that it has gotten in this modern day and age, and also that the people that have claimed to be Salafi also are some of the most inappropriate people when it comes to dealing with others. And this is part of like the reason that I have like this series here about like Salafi strife and whatnot, because this is what has it's very clear that there's a problem here, and like people point at the word Salafi, but if you look at the meaning of it, there's no problem with the meaning. The problem is with the people that have been claiming and ascribing to do it, And so of course, like Athari is of it, and some people say I'm from Ahl al-Hadith. My Aqidah is the Aqidah Ahl al-Hadith. Of course, and like this is great. There's no problem with this. And so it's not an all or nothing situation. Of course, when we look at the people who are from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at, people are with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at in various different ways. So it's not something that you can say Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at are the people that are, you can't just say they're Ahl Hadith if you mean by Ahl Hadith the people that are like the people that study Hadith. You can't say it's just them. And you can't say it's just the people that are like the wa'ath, like the people that are calling people to do good and like preaching to the people. You can't say it's just them. All of these have a part of this and that, and all of these people play a role in Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at. The people that are doing jihad, like these are people that are part of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at, and they're doing an essential part, and they're part of that saved sect, al-firqatun najiyah. And so they're a part of this, and every single person who picks up the roles that are ascribed for them and prescribed for them in the Sunnah and in the Quran, the Sunnah, and they pick up their role and they play this role well, then they're a part of that saved sect in what they do. And so it's not something that we have a saved sect as in if you're not with us then you're in the hellfire. And this is some of the kind of extremist thinking that people they understand when they take this hadith that the ummah will divide up into the 70 some sects, and then every single one other than the one that I'm upon and my companions are upon are in the hellfire. A lot of times they take this to say our group here is the saved one and all the other people are going to be in the hellfire. Also, this needs to be understood as well, that this is not saying that these people are in the hellfire forever. And if you were to say that people go into one of these other sects, and that they go into one of these other sects, and if Allah doesn't forgive them for what they did, then they would only be in the hellfire for a period of time and then they would get out. And if they're, as long as they're Muslim, they're Muslim. And this is affirmed in the hadith in and of itself, and that they're from ummati, and like, so this is, they're the actual, and they're a Muslim, and they're going to be in Jannah. You know, if they're a Muslim, every Muslim dies, they're going to be in Jannah. So we can't think that they're from the hellfire. This is a punishment that, of course, if someone were to be punished, they died as a Muslim. If they were to be punished according to Allah's justice, then they would be put into the hellfire for a time and taken out. And if they weren't punished according to Allah's justice, but rather Allah forgave them, then they don't even go into the hellfire. So it's very important that people understand this hadith properly in the way that Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah understand this, with these general huge principles that, of course, like understanding that every Muslim that is a Muslim that dies upon Islam, he's going to be in Jannah. And every single person that made shirk with Allah and did shirk, of course, that the message has reached them, then this person is someone who's going to be of the people of the hellfire, and that Allah has made Jannah haram upon them. Like all the mushrikeen, that Allah has, وَمَنْ يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ جَنَّةً عَلَيْهِمْ جَنَّةً. And that whoever makes shirk with Allah, then Allah has made Jannah haram upon them. And so these are the basic principles that we always have to put any hadith that comes in that's talking about a punishment for someone or a particular thing. So we look at this and we say, no, we never go against the way that the Prophet ﷺ taught his companions and the way that they taught their companions. This group, the way that the thing that they were upon, this is the truth. And we stick to that and we go to this. But we don't think that people that are away from this truth in this area or this area, that they're out of the boat. Like, this guy's gone, you know, that this guy is no longer part of Ahlus Sunnah. This is a very serious matter, and people that take people outside of Ahlus Sunnah, this is in a way just like taking someone out of Islam. Of course, and there's different rulings that apply to it in the severity, but this is a similar thing. For someone to take someone outside of Ahlus Sunnah, then they need to also do the same conditions of taking someone outside of Islam. That they have to make sure that this person is not muta'awwal, and that any of the shubhat that he has are addressed, and that he understands it, or someone that is like him would be able to understand it, and that he is not that he doesn't have something that hasn't reached him yet. And there's other conditions here that when we talk about like takfir, all of these conditions are the same for tabdi', which is like saying someone is from Ahlul Bid'ah. And so this is very, very important, that someone is very cautious when they ascribe people to Ahlul Bid'ah. And of course, like the Asharis, they are involved in a lot of things of bid'ah. And these things of bid'ah, they're not from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But the rest of the things that they do that are in accordance with Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then we're with them. Like if you look at the Bab of Samiyat, so like they have a Bab in Aqidah, which is just about the things Samiyat, which is the things that come across in the Hadith and the Quran and the Hadith that we affirm. We don't need to understand the how, but we affirm it. Such as like that Allah raises everyone from the dead, and that Allah like with their actual bodies and whatnot, and that Allah has these things in Jannah, and Jannah is real, and the hellfire is real, and they're real right now. And there's so many things that they, like the malaika are real, and there's so many things that they affirm that are the exact same as Ahlus Sunnah. And then there's some things that they go across, and that they go outside of Ahlus Sunnah when they talk about some of the attributes of Allah. And this is based on their like the dalil of like when they talk about the proof that the universe is created and that is not eternal, and then they talk about that the proof that Allah is the creator. Their building of this proof came to some bad conclusions, and these bad conclusions, when you take them to the end of the line, it goes against Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and this is not a part of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But like the general beliefs that they have that are a part of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we affirm that they're from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah in those beliefs. And so this is not an all or nothing subject with that. So there's a couple other terms that these first terms I mentioned here, for the most part, all of these, like whether it's Sunni, Athari, Salafi, Ashari, Maturidi, these are things that the people call themselves. So like whoever is from one of these, they call themselves this. Now there's groups, there's names that are thrown at people, and these names that are thrown at people are for tamyiz, like it's to differentiate them from the rest. And so one of the reasons or the benefits of someone saying that they're Salafi, or that they're Athari, or that they're from Ahlul Hadith, is that they separate themselves from the other people that are claiming the Sunnah as well, such as like the Asharis and the Maturidis. They say that we're Sunni. And so if this person was to say, I'm Sunni too, what's the difference between you? There's no difference. So them saying I'm Salafi, this makes a difference, and it shows that this is where my Aqidah stands. And of course, there's no problem with pointing someone's Aqidah to the Salaf, and there's no problem with that. And this is a great thing for someone to do. And if someone doesn't want to say the word Salafi, but they have that Aqidah, this is the important thing. Like you can't get on someone's case just for saying I don't want to say I'm Salafi. But like if you ask him what is his Aqidah, it's the Aqidah to Salaf. All right, and this is great. The important thing is that this person's belief is correct. And like al-ibratu bil haqa'iq la al-alfaz. And so like the important thing that we look at is what's the belief itself. It's not with what people call themselves. And if they want to call themselves, great. That's their right. But the names that have been thrown at people, as opposed to the names that people claim, these are like a Wahhabi. And so people say Wahhabism or whatever. And so this is like it's ascribing to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah, Shaykh al-Islam. And so, of course, the dawah that he did was very contrary to the Sufis with their istighatha and calling on the amwat, and then their worshipping of the graves and these different things. So he ruffled a lot of feathers, and he basically went to war with them until he made sure that what is Saudi Arabia now is muwahid, like a muwahideen. So he made them make sure that they have tawheed. And this is a beautiful thing, and this is something that is wonderful. And of course, no one's perfect, and there's mistakes that he made maybe in some of the judgments that he judgment calls when it comes to whether or not these people had the message reach them of tawheed or not, and whether he did takfir on them. This is another thing, and no one's perfect. But the people that throw this term Wahhabi, they throw this on anyone who basically holds the belief of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and they want to differentiate them as this person's a Wahhabi, that he's extreme, this, that, and the other. So they use this term Wahhabi, and like the Salaf, if you ask us, if we were to take Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab out of the equation and just look at what we believe, we could not use any of his books, and we're all on the same page. So it's not like we're pointing to him as our essence of who we are. No, like before him we had this belief, and after him this is the same belief. He just did a lot of dawah to this, and so he's known for this. And this is something as opposed to like the Asharis. Like if you have Asharis, before the Asharis, are you going to point to that? No, he's the actual beginner of that that train of thought that people go back to. Before him, there wasn't something. But if you go before Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, of course, there's we had this belief in Ibn Taymiyyah. If you want to call me, it's like you can call me a Taymi, and so someone who's ascribed to Ibn Taymiyyah, and then even himself, he's just Salafi. He's a straight up Salafi, and like all of his if you look at if you read his works, he's just based off of the Salaf. And if you get something from the Salaf that goes against him, find something from the works of the Salaf that refute Ibn Taymiyyah. You'll find that he's in accordance with them. And he's very, he understands their aqwal more than anyone else. And so of course he is one of the people that brought life to the Aqidah to Salaf at a time when the Ashari Aqidah was given a lot of weight by the governmental powers and whatnot, and so he brought this back. And so people, they want to throw this name Wahhabi on the Salafi movement. And of course, if we say the Salafi movement, yes, this is a movement, and this name holds its own new name. So people that want to get away from that, maybe they say that they're Athari, or they're from Ahl al-Hadith. So there's no problem with that. But the important thing is that the Aqidah is the Aqidah of the righteous predecessors. This is the important thing, whether or not they have the name or not. And so the other name that people will throw also, that's thrown around, is the word Madkhali. This is the name that, if you throw this at the people that are super supportive of their oppressive governments, and that they believe that they should never talk about someone who is oppressive, like an oppressive ruler, and that they believe that this person is to be obeyed, and that before you can even do a boycott, that you need to get their permission to do it. And they're known. These people are known. And so these people, if you ever ask them, what are you? They would never say I'm a Madkhali. They would only say I'm Salafi. And so to make a difference between them and the rest of the actual people that hold the Aqidah of the Salaf and don't agree with them in these matters, Then the term Madkhali has been given a lot of weight and prevalence in these times because it pulls them out, and of course it's pointing to the one of the major sheikhs that they follow, and from the people that follow them, and they're known. They have their group, and this is a part of the reason for this series is to point to that there's a issue here, and it's not, I'm not pointing at the actual shuyukh themselves, and yes, everyone makes mistakes, but it's more with the students in their aggressive tactics and cultish behaviors that they never go outside and look out at other people with like an actual shred of respect, for people that are outside of their selected group of trusted sheikhs. And so they get this name, they get this name, and they deserve it. And then the other name that is out there, there's a couple other names that I said I was going to talk about. And so we have the Madkhali, we know where the name comes from. And there's also another name that they throw. And a lot of times they'll either throw Ikhwani out there, and of course everyone knows this is pointing towards the Muslim Brotherhood. And that's a whole nother issue. And like someone who actually ascribes themselves and say that they're from it, that's one thing. But a lot of times the people that would have the name, like the Madkhalis, they will point at people that disagree with them as Ikhwanis. And this is one of the ways that they want to do it. Or they'll use another form, which is like Sururi. And this is like pointing to like someone who believes in talking against or making public inkar against like the rulers. And of course, this is an issue maybe I'll talk about in future episodes. But they will point this name, and of course, this is not a name that anyone ascribes for themselves. And then there's also another name that is on the other side of the fence, which is al-jaami. And the Jami is a person that goes back to the Sheikh Jami, that was a Saudi Sheikh, that he was known for telling talking about the people that went against the government and making sure the government knew about anyone who was saying anything against them. And so he would basically tell them right up front about this. And so this is like, he believed in like informing the government about everything that went on from anyone who was trying to make any difference of opinion with them or making any noise. And so he basically would tell them. So this is the other form, a jami, or like jamia. And so these are forms, like basically these last few names here in these titles, these are something that people don't actually claim, like for the most part. No one's going to say, I'm this. But these names have been used to point out like some of the different types of people that are inside of the Salafi framework. And so this is a thing. And of course, like names, and in general, people should not be quick to rush to name calling in these things. And of course, like respect, if somebody calls themselves something, leave it to that. And if they don't call themselves this, then it's best not to call them in particular this. But if there's there's a prevalent view or like school of thought that's out there that is distinct, then like not giving it a name is counterintuitive. How are you going to deal with it if you don't give it a name? But if you give it a name, then all of a sudden you've given it a point of reference, and the name Madkhali has definitely stood out. And the people can understand, oh, what are we talking about when we say Madkhalis? Oh, people know, And so this is the purpose of this is not necessarily tashwih, but it's rather a tamyiz. So it's not tashwih, which is like to show people are terrible people and whatnot, but it's rather for tamyiz, for us to know, oh, this is what they're about. And it makes it very clear. And Allahu a'lam. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
فلذلك فادع واستقم كما أمرت ولا تتبع أهواءهم وقل آمنت بما أنزل الله من كتاب وأمرت لأعدل بينكم الله ربنا وربكم لنا أعمالنا ولكم أعمالكم لا حجة بيننا وبينكم الله يجمع بيننا وإليه المصير.